Chapter 10. How to Serve in Governmental Affairs. The office of the prophetic is important in governmental affairs and even more vital in protecting the lives of every citizen in the world. History and experience have taught me that we should never say never because we do not know what life may bring our way. The prophet must always be willing to embrace God's purpose and plan and to submit to God's destiny for his life. Nothing could be farther from the truth than to believe that there is not a place in government for the prophetic. God, who is sovereign, will have his voice heard and his will accomplished in the earth. You will see that in the Old Testament, the prophetic voice directly influenced the kings of the land in one way or the other. In fact, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. The influence of the spirit of Antichrist operates in civil affairs. The prophet must be wise enough and careful enough not to lose sight of his purpose, regardless of the evil that is encountered. Although the prophet Daniel never ran for office, he was given a charge to respond to a civil situation caused by the signing of a decree by King Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar had a dream that troubled him, and he could not sleep. Then the king commanded all the magicians and the astrologers and the sorcerers and the Chaldeans for to shew the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king. Daniel 2:2. What he demanded from them was a human impossibility. He demanded that they not only provide an interpretation of his dream, but that they tell him exactly what he dreamed. Failure to do so would cost their lives. This presented a common crisis that would directly affect not only Daniel's life, but the lives of his colleagues as well. Common crisis always breeds communion. In desperation, Daniel sought the true and living God to reveal to him this secret dream in order to save all of their lives. God delivered. He showed up in a dream and provided revelation of the mystery Daniel needed to solve. Before answering the king, Daniel made sure that Nebuchadnezzar knew, without any doubt, that no man could do what his God can do. He made it clear to the king that there is a God in heaven who revealed secrets. After Daniel revealed to Nebuchadnezzar the dream and the interpretation thereof, the king promoted Daniel. Nebuchadnezzar then blessed Daniel's God and declared that he is God above all other gods. While the commission to serve as a prophet in civil government is difficult, it is not impossible. In order for a prophet to serve his government, his ego must go. Along with the opportunity to lead and govern in a political position is the mesmerizing allure of power and validation. The enemy will tempt the prophet by showing him what the kingdoms of the world have to offer. He even had the audacity to try to tempt Jesus. We have witnessed the fall of many politicians brought down by the lure of power, fortune, and celebrity status. The moment the prophet becomes intrigued by a position, he is finished. This is a slippery slope that has entangled many. The powers of darkness, which rule in high places, fiercely target all who enter into their domain, and who are armed with the ability to impact change with their power and influence. If your motives are not pure and you are not consecrated, you will succumb to the seductiveness of this power. This is one reason why, as the prophet prepares for ministry to government and civil administrations, he must rely solely on Jehovah as his provider. Consider Balaam and Gehazi, who were both called to civil leadership and were enticed by the promises of great riches. The prophet's message cannot be swayed by or subjected to the systems of this world in any way, shape, or form. Our governments and world systems depend upon apostolic and prophetic influence, just like Elijah and Elisha were needed and were the apostolic headship of the prophets and their sons. I believe this teaching is lacking in the church today, but it must be taught. Allow me to make a statement that may appear contradictory to what I have stated above. While public and civil platforms are important, and God wants the prophetic to be highly visible in this area, it is very difficult for a prophet of God to enter civil government without first being fully connected to the apostolic. The prophetic and the apostolic go together like bread and butter. Having said that, please listen very closely to what I am saying. Influence is more important than any position or any title. I would rather have godly influence than a position or a title. Although our civil leaders should be accessible to all of us, many times our culture makes them appear larger than life because of their title and position. We must remember that they are men and women just like us. They want the same things that we want out of life and are not exempt from life's challenges. However, many of them are deceived by the world system. They truly believe that they can change society through civil means. As noble as that may seem to the world and to those who do not know God, the child of God recognizes that there is only one true king. All people are subject to and servants of the king they serve. Therefore, if you serve a political party and have become a constituent of that kingdom, you are limited as to how much power and authority you can exert in that kingdom. You have become subject to the rule of that king's authority. However, the prophetic voice of God does not have a party preference. The moment a prophet becomes defined by a party, he will become lost in an agenda that is not God's. Sadly, he no longer has access to the heavens. In chapter 3, we discussed Elijah's statement, "There shall not be dew nor rain these years, but according to my word." Later in the narrative of 1 Kings 18, Elijah met Obadiah, a governor in the court of King Ahab's house. When Elijah approached him and advised him of his intentions, Obadiah revealed that he was a prophet. He confessed that he was hiding 100 prophets in a cave. He was hiding them in the king's domain. Obadiah was hiding them from the powers of the rulers of darkness in that region, Ahab and Jezebel. Jezebel happens to be the ruling spirit of politics, and yes, she wears a suit and tie. Obadiah traded his precious gift, prophetic influence, for civil influence, a title, and a position. Even though he was able to conceal his secret and function as a governor in the king's house, he, along with the other 100 prophets, was not effective in his prophetic gifting. When Elijah challenged Obadiah to take a message to the king, he was so afraid for his life and of losing his status and livelihood that he was unable to readily respond to Elijah's apostolic order. Many prophets are hiding in kings' palaces. They believe they are doing some good or looking out for other prophets. They are wrong. They have compromised their divine assignment to influence the nations. Our civil leaders need a friend who will advise them in truth, in righteousness, and in the full counsel of God. A wise person will seek counsel with the understanding that the decisions they make directly affect the lives of others. Therefore, the prophet needs to be taught how to change the mind of the ungodly by his influence in the earth. God's prophet must pattern his life according to Psalms 1. He must not walk in the counsel of the ungodly, or stand in the way of sinners, or sit in the seat of the scornful. The influence of the prophetic must be demonstrated in every aspect of his life, in his private life, and in his public life. This is God's order, and it is the will of God in the earth for every dispensation. The prophet must not use his prophetic influence for personal gain, but must always guard against the trap of selfish ambition. You do not need a position or title or fame or fortune to fulfill God's purpose in your life. When you have a true calling, great men will seek you out. Because the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord will provoke the king to seek after the prophet. Once the prophet is given an audience with the king, the prophet will not allow the king to place his finger in the eyes to blind him from his motives. The prophet will be able to see the nakedness and transparency of the king, as well as any hidden agenda. Moreover, the prophet will be able to speak directly to the king without fear of reprisal or intimidation. The prophet Isaiah was not afraid to speak unfavorably to or prophesy against the king. He was not intimidated, but took the position that he would always only say whatever God told him to say. He would not allow anyone to sway him. The prophet of God must stay free from the need to attain reputation and fame, as well as the temptation to acquire great wealth and riches. A fame-seeking prophet will ultimately degrade the gift of God because he is easily bought. It takes only one opportunity, and, in that moment, the prophet can be bribed and persuaded to compromise his gift. Beware, the cost of compromise is costly and, in some cases, fatal. Questions. Number 1. What are the lessons to be learned from Daniel's example as a prophet in governmental affairs? Number 2. Has God spoken to you concerning your prophetic influence in your local town, city, county, municipality, state, or region? Number 3. What are some of the temptations in government and politics that must be avoided so that the testimony of the prophet is not compromised?